So now that you've chosen the story that you're going to write about, you've chosen your topic, we are going to map out and plan how that story is going to flow. And with that, I want to make sure that you do not write too much of a story. You're going to zoom in to the most important part and really stretch that part out. I call that a small moment within your story. It's like the story within the story, but you're really going to start right at the part where it's going to start getting good. And so, when we think about this, to find a small moment, to be a great writer, we need to choose those most important parts of the story. We don't write about absolutely everything we can remember. And so writers need to focus on one important small moment, not a grocery list of events. I did this and then this, or we did this. Like if it's a trip on a vacation, you tell all the different things you did, or everything you did in a whole day. We're not going to do that. We're going to write our ideas where we choose the most important part, and we're not going to talk about getting up in the morning, getting dressed, getting ready for the day. You're just going to start jumping in right away to the action. So, as an example, if I want to write about a story, a memory I have where I went to the movie theater with a friend, and so I could think about the fact that with this friend we, watch movies together, we go to school together, we go play outside, ride bikes, all these different things. I don't want to talk about everything. I'm going to focus on just, for instance, the story about us going to the movies. And so I'll begin telling the story. We get in the car, we're playing games in the car, getting ready to be there, and we're just laughing and playing as we're driving, as our parents are taking us there. We go into the theater, we buy our tickets, we wait in line, purchase a large soda and popcorn. Finally we go and we find our seats, and all of a sudden my friend starts to juggle his soda and loses his grip, and it goes everywhere, all the way on him, and it fell onto the floor, soaked him completely wet, and we had to leave without seeing the movie. So we get in the car, we drive home, and there's a few things I could say to wrap things up, but already my story, I need to find the part that's the most important part. And so when I think about this, what is my story really about? Well, the important thing I'm going to focus on is that time when the friend has the problem of spilling the soda everywhere all over him. And so I want to start my story close to that moment. Okay, in this case, there's the part where he has his soda and it spills. And so I'm going to think about, where do I actually want to start my story? Do I want to start, like I said, where we get in the car, we're playing games and laughing, driving to the theater? I'm going to snip that part off. I'm going to cut that part away and get closer to the actual moment. Okay? What I think is, I want to be close to the moment where the action happens, and I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'll start as we're in the concession stand line getting ready, and we get our items. And what I'm going to do in future lessons is talk about describing everything, adding lots of details here, but really starting close to the moment where the real good stuff happens. And so that's what I mean by small moment. Okay? In addition, I want us to think about the story arc like we talked about yesterday. You need to have each of these elements. You have really the beginning where you talk about the scene, the setting, introduce the characters. There's some sort of problem or conflict or issue that people have with their feelings or their thoughts, or whatever it is that's causing some sort of drama, causing some sort of tension in the story, and you give the details moving up to the climax. Okay? And then you have your falling action and wrapping things up. So your story needs to have that climax where that is really the turning point of the story. That is the most intense moment where it's the highest tension, it's drama. It's the time where the reader really finds out, okay, what's going to happen here? And then we do find out. And that's where a solution or things are wrapped up after that. That building moment all the way up to your story, you do need that moment of the climax where we find out what happens. And so hopefully you have a story that you can build up to that. Maybe be a little bit more dramatic. Your story, we want it to be truthful, but you can add a few little details here and there that you might not have remembered exactly, but it makes things even more interesting. Okay, but this really is based on a true story you have. And as we talked about yesterday, I'm not going to read all of these, but it's the same slides, but you do need a theme to your story, a lesson, something that the character, in this case, you, realizes or learns. And so we talked about examples here. I learned it's important to face your fears and try new things, even if it seems super challenging. So at the end, you are going to share your theme. And so once again, this story arc, this story mountain, the shark fin, whatever your teacher may have called it, you have the beginning, middle, and end of your story. Okay, I'm going to show one example here. This is from a little while back, earlier in the year, where we watched some short stories, some short media, and this was the short film called Hair Love. And if you remember, we talked about the intro where you get right away into the story where we learn, okay, the little girl wakes up and it's a very important moment on the calendar. So we know right away that that's the case. Okay, and right away getting into the conflict, we realize how crazy her hair is. She's trying to comb her hair and make it look good. It's not working. She's looking at videos and following directions, and it gets more and more difficult for her, so she has to turn to her dad. Her dad sees that she's having a hard time, and so he starts to help. Okay, and in the story, obviously this is not completely realistic, but the hair is battling him and the dad, and they're trying to struggle to get her hair to do what it needs to do to make it look good. The girl gets upset. What's she going to do? All of these events lead up to the climax, the turning point, where finally the girl gets the idea to show the video that her mom had made that shows how to do the hair. And dad starts to follow the steps, and there is success. They figure it out. The girl's hair gets done. Everything is great. So they go visit mom in the hospital. And mom, we learn, has no hair. She's been having treatment at the hospital. And we look at this, and the girl had some unique hair. And then we see mom, how she had a unique hairdo where she didn't have any. So at the end, really the theme is, being proud, realizing you need to be proud of your uniqueness. We're all beautiful in our own way and different. And so today you are going to map out one of these story plots, just like this, and plan it out. The story that you're going to write about and follow all the way from beginning to end. I want you to create something similar to this where you have these elements. The more you plan, the better you plan today, the easier it will be next week to jump into your story and get your draft. So today, you're going to create something similar to this, just on paper. Draw it. You can draw it different ways. It can look like this. This one like here. But you're going to do it on a piece of paper, hopefully in your notebook, with all the other things. We have done a lot of these earlier in the year. You should have some of these written down in your notebooks. So go back and see and make sure. You might have even had a story that you want to write about and you've already mapped it out, because we did that for our quick write. So at the end of the day, you should have something that looks like this about your story. You won't write until next week, but this will set things up. Okay? Can't wait to see what you guys have going on in your story next week. And today is the day that you plan and map it out. Good luck.